Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Locked On Lakers for Monday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. Did Austin Reaves just save the Lakers season? Spoiler alert. Yes, Austin Reaves just saved the Lakers season. That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everyone for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts, always free, never behind a paywall. Locked On YouTube, Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go to see the show, participate in a community of Lakers fans, NBA fans that is upwards of 14,000 strong. We're getting real close to 14K, and we appreciate all the support for the channel. Do want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks first-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. That's prizepicks.com, promo code Locked On. So the Lakers got some good news about LeBron, or I guess we're speaking optimistically, if nothing else, about LeBron before the game on Sunday, a huge game against Orlando. So we'll get to that later in the show. But Andy, 111-105, the Lakers got a game that they had to have. It wasn't pretty, but they got it, and they got it because Austin Reaves continues to make himself tons of money this offseason. He was incredible.
Yeah, it is no exaggeration whatsoever to say Austin Reaves took this game over. Career high 35 points, career high 18 trips to the line, made 16 of them, 9 of 14 from the field. He might have set an NBA record, it felt like, at least for and ones, because he just was able to draw so many shooting fouls. He also had 6 rebounds, 6 assists. I mean, he was not just the best player on the floor, much less for the Lakers. He really was just controlling the action when he was out there. Like if anything throughout this game, with the periods where Austin was not on the floor, that's really where the game felt like it was most jeopardized for the Lakers. Like, Anthony Davis had, the worst, last 90 seconds of a game, maybe of his career, against
Dallas on Friday.
On Friday. And if you were looking for a bounce back game from AD, this was not the one. And they needed somebody to really carry this team and put them on their back. And there were other guys who stepped up. We'll get into it. Other guys who played well, but there's no question Austin Reaves was the ultimate difference maker in this game. And you are correct. The dude is going to be getting paid this offseason.
Yeah, and we'll go through it a little bit, maybe in today's show, certainly get into it before the Lakers play again Wednesday, because it was asked. I mean, both of us commented about, kind of this situation. Like, we've been doing it for a little while now. Every time Austin Reaves goes and plays, it's costing the Lakers more money. And so we'll kind of get into what the Lakers can do to keep him, how they can do it, what that might look like. But the number keeps going up, like where it used to be, Austin Reaves, $7, $8, $9 million. It's like, no, jack that up a little bit. Austin Reaves will be buying all the hoodies this summer, like all of the hoodies. And if ever was the guy, by the way, you'd be shocked if he just blew through like $65 million. He doesn't seem like a good candidate for that. But you mentioned AD, and we'll go back to Reaves here in a second, but you mentioned AD, and it was, I agree with you 100%, not the kind of bounce back statement game that he's delivered at different times this year, coming off of disappointing games. He's had those moments where he just goes out and dominates. I thought he was pretty good defensively throughout and very good defensively in the second half. But offensively, the Lakers weren't great offensively on Sunday, and they're not going to win a ton of games where Davis scores 15 points. They did on Sunday, but they're not going to most nights. And I look at this first and foremost as an issue since that Toronto game where Nick Nurse basically double or triple covered AD whenever he got near the ball, let alone had it. Teams have been playing him very aggressively and shading him and doubling him quickly, do a lot of, and he hasn't figured out kind of how to respond. The Lakers haven't figured out how to free him up. And over these last 10 games, if they can't come up with a solution, winning enough to stay in that top 10 is going to be a real challenge.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's on other guys, on the team to make outside shots, stuff like that. Although this was a night where they shot almost 41% from behind the arc. It wasn't Reaves at all. Reaves was only 1 of 4 from behind the line.
He was too busy playing. He was too busy shooting free throws to take.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying you would assume that on a night where he had 35 points, he would have been part of that outside barrage, and he wasn't. It was Troy Brown going 4 of 8, D'Angelo Russell going 4 of 8, Dennis Schroeder 3 of 6. So the spacing was there for at least AD to operate. They're having issues, I think, figuring out exactly how they want to implement AD, knowing that he is going to get just swarmed and that teams are going to force other guys to beat them. I personally think they should be looking to create more high screen and roll opportunities. I think they should be looking.
Yeah, but they ran. I mean, maybe it's a different combination, but like they tried. They were running high screen and roll all game with AD as the screener up the top of the floor, and they were having a terrible time shaking him loose. The timing, it's a different pace, it's a different timing, it's a different spacing with AD and Russell, and they're just not quite on it yet. That LeBron AD pick and roll operates with much better fluidity, with much better pacing together in tight quarters than the AD Russell.
I just think it's I don't disagree, but A, they're not going to get better at it without continuing the reps, and B, I still think it is better than when they look to, for example, camp AD out on the block. Like anything, it is high screen and roll or finding different ways to just have AD moving, having him be able to catch him, having him be able to catch and immediately move whatever. The points where I think AD becomes most vulnerable to that swarm is when they look to post him up on the block right now. Like just it becomes, I think, much easier for multiple defenders to go at him. It becomes easier for AD to get stripped more often. I think it becomes easier for AD to start thinking more. And that's
I think that's particularly true on the low block. Yeah. There were some good moments in Sunday's game where they got him the ball, posting up higher up on the floor, either fronted by like Wendell Carter Jr. or somebody else or whatever, and either going over the top of that or giving it to him almost on the wing to let him set up and go. But I agree with you. I just was, looking at, somebody on Twitter at Cam Brothers who was responding to a tweet that I put out in the middle of the game. The Lakers just haven't figured this out yet. They are still not responding well to the attention that AD is getting. And his response was enough of this high post, high pick and like get him down on the block and go. And I'm like, can't do it. Like that. I agree with you, Andy. Like that, those setups are where it's really easy, particularly, if like Vanderbilt's on the floor or something like that, like where they're bringing too many bodies near him. I thought they had a couple really good sequences other when they shook the PNR loose. Like they brought Anthony Davis around off a screen and let him, like you said, catch on the move and kind of go a little quicker there. They just haven't figured it out. It's a combination, I think, of skill sets kind of working through it. I think teams are not giving up on, guys hit 3 or 4 3-pointers in a row, and coaches are like, we're still double and triple teaming Anthony Davis. Austin Reaves really made him pay for that attention on Sunday, but it's got to get better. It really has to get better quickly.
That's a big reason, though, why and some of this is D'Angelo is a much more, he's always been, I mean, we covered D'Angelo when he was a rookie. Like he's always been much more of a prober and somebody he's very deliberate in terms of getting in the lane, changes speeds a lot, gets guys on his hip. Like he is not a catch and go guy himself. He's not like a straight line driver off turning the corner the way Dennis Schroeder is. And, he's obviously not LeBron because nobody's LeBron. But I do think that the two of them, we saw this during this game, like they can find the timing together, but they need to find different ways to just keep AD in motion and keep him just thinking less.
I agree.
Because the more AD starts getting in his own head about this, or the more opportunities you have for him to become stationary, that's when he just, I think, gets in his own head and gets in his own way.
Let's stick on this pace thing for a second, because there are a couple of interesting moments I saw in the game that I think reflect kind of what you're getting at there, in terms of that timing and that chemistry between AD and Russell. So we'll do that next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Prize Picks. And Laker fans, if you are not signed up yet for Prize Picks, you are missing out on daily fantasy made easy. Prize Picks has the best NBA DFS prop game on the market. More NBA players than any other DFS prop operator. They offer the superstar players like Austin Reaves. Also bench players. Just pick 2 to 6 players. And
also Austin Reaves. You can choose them twice, maybe. I'm not sure.
I don't think you can. Just find 2 to 6 players, predict whether they will notch more or less in their Prize Picks stats projections, and you can win up to 25 times your money. And they offer projections on sports ranging from baseball to the last part of college basketball, even disc golf. Just use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. Safe, fast withdrawals. Download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com. Sign up, play daily fantasy sports. First-time users, you can get a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 using the promo code Locked On. Again, don't forget the promo code Locked On at the sign-up for the instant match. If you are not playing Prize Picks, you don't know what you're missing.
All right. So there was a moment in this game where, like, to this point about timing, chemistry, say what you want about Russ. And I think you will, the royal you out there. He got them playing fast all the time. And there was at least one moment, I thought I saw another, where AD was trying to get Russell up the floor faster and playing quicker. And so I just feel like there is a little bit of that timing and chemistry issue. So even when AD manages to get the ball off of some of these screen and rolls, and a couple times it worked really well, doing it in a way that allows him, more space, where he's got that lane to the basket. I would love to see the numbers on where AD has been most successful, with which pick and roll partner he's been most successful, higher on, throughout games, what those numbers look like. I think actually Darvin did a smart thing, adding a little bit more guard play onto the floor to provide a little more ball handling and do some stuff. Like, I didn't mind how all that worked tonight. And they obviously still held up just fine defensively, only allowed 105 points. So, Orlando was like 40% from the floor.
Yeah, 26% from behind the arc.
Yeah, so I mean, they were good, more than solid defensively, and got away with whatever lineups they really wanted to put out there. But like, some of this is to be expected. Like, I think we got, as a Lakers watching public, the change was so quick and so much better right away. Like, in terms of everything kind of being slotted in order, they performed so much better than expected, with LeBron off the floor, that it almost seemed like, well, this normal growing pains thing, the adjustments to the scouting, all this kind of stuff, I guess they didn't need to go through it. Actually they do. And they're seeing it now. Like, teams are playing them differently than they did right after the deadline. And they got a counter.
Well, this
is very normal, but it's just unfortunate. It's bad timing.
Well, it's also really hard to come up with counters to the counters without your best player. And the guy that really should be all things being equal, most of the time running your offense to begin with. Like LeBron James is one of the ultimate problem solvers in NBA history. Like even at this stage of his career, if nothing else, when it comes to running an offense, finding open guys, figuring out where to put teammates to be in the best place.
Even when he doesn't have the ball, he still adds so much structure to
just
everything that happens.
LeBron out there directing traffic, even off ball, is going to help, counter to these counters. And it's just, they're going to have to figure out exactly how to do this, particularly with, they've got three very different now ball handlers and orchestrators in Austin, in D'Lo, and in Schroeder.
Yes,
and the fact that they're all three very different is great in terms of being able to mix up different things, change tempo, create different looks from the bench. It makes them less predictable in certain senses for opposing defenses, but it also might make them a little bit less predictable for their own good when it comes to just trying to figure out. Yeah, like it's a double-edged sword for sure. And all things being equal, while there have been some disappointing results because the Lakers have coughed up winnable games and they're simply not in a place where they can afford to do that regardless of the circumstances or the context, they've handled this period without LeBron pretty well. Like they really have.
Oh, for sure. For sure. We were, when LeBron got hurt, and we all knew we'll get to the update here pretty quick. But when LeBron got hurt, everyone thought okay, maybe they could see this through, but are you really gonna count on it? Or is this what you were expecting to happen? No, just that it's possible. And they've done more than that. They've done, far better in terms of staying competitive, winning more than they lose. They're not treading water, and they really should have. They should have won on Friday.
Well, here's
and
the
they
thing.
Should have won, and then just they should have beaten Houston because they should have beaten Houston.
Here's actually the problem: is they've both been performing better than you might have figured, but also unfortunately treading water. Like they actually have not really done much better in terms of the end cold results than treading water, because they've made no real progress at all. They just haven't drowned, but they are still in the middle of the ocean, flapping their arms, frantically hoping that a lifeboat shows up, like the SS LeBron. But until then, it's hard to say they're not doing anything more than treading water because they've made no real progress. And
I see what you mean. What you mean. The record since the All-Star break is still, above 500 and all that, and all that stuff. But you're right. They are not making progress. But I'm looking at their, right now, just looking at their numbers over the last 5 games and stuff. And it really is, the offensive side, it's their net rating is, we've had moments like this throughout the season. Stop me if you've heard it. Their negative, I'm sorry, their offensive rating for the season, their net rating for the season is negative 0.2. So they are as 500 a team as a team can be. But just offensively, they're very middle of the pack. The defense has been pretty good. A few games notwithstanding, but they're very mid right now in terms of offense, and they have to get a little bit better. They have to find easier ways to score points than they currently are.
Yeah, and I mean, as much as Darvin Ham before the game expressed optimism about LeBron returning. He said, quote, "We anticipate him coming back at some point." Dave McMenamin tweeted out this season, and in parentheses, Darvin making it clear they mean, he will be back before the season.
Because Wojcicki tweeted that out without the parenthetical, and I was like, well, I anticipate he'll be back at some point. And mercifully, McMenamin followed through with the parenthetical, and I'm like, this is the most important parenthetical in the history of pregame interviews. There's a big difference.
It's also too, I mean, it's really important hearing this, because Friday on the Hoop Collective, Brian Windhorst said, quote, "What I've heard on LeBron is he is not close." That was what I was told. Not close. Does that mean he's out for 6 months? No, I know everybody said the 3 weeks, but I think it was made very clear that the 3 weeks is when he's going to get the official reevaluation. It didn't mean he was coming back in 3 weeks. I know that LeBron has played through injuries in the past. I'm not 100% sure this is an injury that he can play through. And look, obviously all of this is devil in the details. Some degree is semantics, some degree maybe what is the mood when you are hearing this if you're Brian Windhorst versus Dave McMenamin on Sunday. You know what I mean? Like there's varying degrees
and also
of
the
details.
definition of like not close. Does not close to some people means 3 weeks away, not close to other. The problem is when there's only 3 weeks left in the season and you only have 10 games, not close can mean 8 games, 7
and also
games. Like,
the devil is truly in the details and can also be very difficult to decipher because, as we've talked about before a lot last week regarding Anthony Davis, this team is really bad at clearly communicating what the hell is going on with most of their players and injuries.
It's obviously critical to get him back, but it sounds like basically the scenario that we were talking about. We're like somewhere in around that first game against the Jazz when the Lakers go to Utah on the 4th or something like that. Maybe he's back for that, the first game of April against the Rockets on the 2nd. God, the Lakers are lucky to get the Rockets again. Maybe he plays the 5th against the Clippers, but like anything more than the final 4 or 5 games of the season seemed wholly unrealistic.
Yeah, well, in the meantime, though, it's going to be up to other people to step up. We talked about Austin Reaves. We can get more into him, but let's also, I think it's worth mentioning the bench because along with Austin, they were really, I think, the key to the Lakers getting through this game. They collectively, they stepped up more than the starters. So we can talk about that coming up next. But Locked on Lakers brought to you by Nissan, Nissan's most electric player of the week, brought to you by the all-new, all-electric 2023 Nissan Ariya. And the award goes to Austin Reaves. The week kicked off with a career night from Austin Reaves, who was flat out electric while flat out saving the Lakers against the Magic. 35 points, 9 of 14 from the field, 16 of 18 from the line. Deceptive power and strength, that Austin Reaves, drawing fouls with ferocity, but at the same time, smooth passing skills, elegant footwork. The dude will be able to afford many, many Nissan Ariyas after this offseason's free agency. The 2023 Nissan Ariya packs pin you to your seat, power and premium intelligence, all in one EV. The all-new, all-electric 2023 Nissan Ariya, the EV for people who love to drive. Shop now at nissanusa.com.
Okay, you're looking at the bench, and it's Dennis Schroeder, 12 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. It's Wenyen Gabriel, the 8 rebounds that he provided, particularly early. I think he had 5 rebounds in his first 6 minutes.
He did.
Some insane level of activity. He was a plus 25.
And they all, by the way, all of those rebounds from Wenyen Gabriel early on led to like the pass that would set up another basket or would set up another opportunity.
And he had tipped balls that didn't count as rebounds. His activity early was incredible.
Right. And we've seen a lot of that from Wenyen lately. Like it's felt like Wenyen really took Darvin Ham's decision not to start him against Houston when AD sat and instead to go small with Rui. Like he took that super, he's the Michael Jordan meme, and I took that personally because he outplayed Rui by a long shot during that game. Like he ended up starting the second half, and he played really well against Dallas. He played really well in this game. Like he's not.
I think he outplayed Vanderbilt.
Yes, he
Sunday,
did
for sure.
Yes, he did. I mean, his numbers are not always going to jump out. But for the first half of the season, it's not here now. But for the first half of the season, I believe Wenyen Gabriel was the team leader for net rating. It's not an accident, man. A lot of good things just happen while he's out on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it was a plus 25 in 20 minutes, which is not easy to do. I think the Lakers,
especially in a 6-point win.
And, I think the Lakers are trying to slot him into a place where he plays 15 to 25 minutes a night. No, not more than that. You don't want more than that, but you want a little bit of that energy, particularly, with no Mo Bamba. You need a little bit of size, obviously, when AD's not on the floor, but like where you can really maximize Wenyen. He doesn't have to worry too much about fouls. When he knows he's going to be playing, really extended minutes, I think it does make him a little bit hesitant. This way he can go out and play. They got, Hachimura's numbers did not jump off the screen. 8 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, but he had a couple big buckets. And obviously, Reaves. When you talk about bench scoring, most of that bench scoring came from Reaves. But you're right. They all contributed. And then the flip side of that is you go to the starting lineup. And, I thought it was a nice bounce back game for Brown. He took 8 3-pointers, good volume, made 4 of them. Was active defensively. D'Angelo, I thought, had a pretty good game.
He did
18 points, kept the turnovers down, only had one of those. 4 of 8 from 3-point range. Good volume, good percentage. We talked about AD in the last segment, but then like these supporting guys who are supposed to be a little bit freed up with the attention that AD gets. Vanderbilt took 1 shot. And Malik Beasley was one of 7. So the 2 of them, you had 2 starters who combined for 1 bucket and only 8 shots. That becomes tough. And I know Vanderbilt is a kind of a fan favorite, rightly, and has quickly become a very popular player because his activity, the hustle, the energy. He's an extraordinarily likable player, but he is, I think, sometimes a little bit limited too. Had 4 turnovers in 23 minutes. He was all over the place in the first half. And I think there are nights where it is hard to give him kind of long minutes. I think he has become one of those players that Lakers fans look at the how he does what he does and not necessarily the results of what he does and like the impact on the floor. Just looking at his plus minus in the last few games. And again, this is not a perfect metric for it. But minus 12 against Orlando, minus 14 against Dallas, minus 4 against Houston, plus 22 against New Orleans. He started the game, and that's the Lakers. If you started the game, you were plus. He was minus 18 against the Knicks. He was minus 10 against Toronto. He was minus 14 against Memphis. So, I mean, that's not great.
Well, I think some of the problem, though, and we're going to get into Malik Beasley more either for Tuesday's show or Wednesday, because his slump is just
it's
not
really a problem
ending anytime soon. But I think the reason I bring that up with Vanderbilt is on a night where Beasley, goes 1 of 7 for 3 points, and Anthony Davis is pretty pedestrian in terms of his production.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a night where Jared Vanderbilt not hitting double digits in scoring is going to feel much more pronounced.
One shot.
I would, yeah. But I mean, on a night where Beasley's hitting shots or Anthony Davis is shooting well above 50%, you can look at Jared Vanderbilt and saying, all right, he only took 1 shot, but he had 10 rebounds. And that can feel like a much better thing. Like this would take some, deep diving that I'm not exactly sure even how to like manipulate NBA.com or some of these other sites. Like I would love to figure out some of Vanderbilt's advanced numbers on nights where Malik Beasley isn't shooting well. You know what I mean? Like how
check out every night basically over the last 10 games.
Sure, but
his plus minus numbers aren't good.
Sure, or on a night where Beasley and AD aren't shooting well, like something like that. But then like bringing this all back to Austin Reaves, who again should definitely garner a lot of conversation. I know we're going to talk about him during the week in terms of his off-season monies and what the Lakers at this point are really forced to pay him. Part of the reason why I think the bench unit has been really consistent lately and really productive and helpful is they've got a bunch of guys now who this bench unit has played together all season.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Reaves and Schroeder, I think, are very well matched to play off each other. Rui is a guy. He's really the only guy who goes out of his way to score in the mid post, certainly of his size. like he's the only guy of that size looking to do that. When those other guys are really productive, Wenyen can just focus on bringing that energy and that hustle and the focus on the boards. And I think actually Wenyen is a really smart player.
Mhm.
Like the four of them make sense playing together. Like you can understand how they can particularly thrive. And they're also guys that it feels like their numbers are tiered in ways that are fairly predictable.
And the
things that you're asking of them are fairly predictable.
I think, a lot of times you have guys who played a little bit more together. And they're playing against lesser competition. I mean, like Orlando is a little unique in the sense they don't play long minutes for their non-starters. Other than Cole Anthony, who is a rotation caliber player, they don't arguably have another rotation guy coming off the bench. Like, so, yes, the Lakers reserves are playing against more Orlando starters at any given time, but you're still talking 15 minutes from Goga Batadze, and they try to squeeze 5.5 minutes out of ball.
The bench has been good for the last
they have been.
So games.
But that's true against every team. Is you play against somebody else's bench, and Chris Houston, Keith Harris. I mean, these are not, and so you would expect, especially as the Lakers have added more depth, for their bench to be able to perform better and more consistently. It's a very good thing that they have. The Beasley thing is something that we'll definitely get into. We don't have enough time to do it in any real depth now, but I will go back and look at it for Tuesday's show. He's got one game in his last 6 or 7 or 8 where he's been above 33, not above 50%, above 33% from 3-point range in any one game. And we thought in the New Orleans game that might be, finally the lid has come off the basket for him. Nope, went right back on. And you just can't have these kinds of shooting nights with this kind of consistency from Beasley. You need to get him better shots. He needs to make more of them, or perhaps you just have to make changes in the lineup. And so that is something that we will explore over the course of the week. Next Laker game is on Wednesday against the Phoenix Suns. DeAndre Ayton, it is worth noting, did not play on Sunday. He is considered day-to-day in terms of that game on Wednesday. It doesn't seem like a particularly alarming injury, but he didn't play Sunday, so we'll see what happens going there. Obviously,
he'll be back Wednesday. We know how this works. He's going to be back. I mean, Kyrie.
If Kevin Durant comes back on Wednesday, that this is how.
Kyrie ended up out the next game after Fridays against the Lakers. Like, it's just how this stuff is going to work.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be available. DeAndre.
It seems like he will be. So, but it's just something to keep an eye on. So 2 huge games this week, both at home before the Lakers go out on the road. They've put themselves in a position where this Phoenix game, which was one that you would have liked to be able to say, if we let this one get away, it's okay. Suns are pretty good. Not anymore. 10 games left. Got to win what? I think about 7 of them to feel safe.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. All right. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go to see the show and participate. Leave us comments. Leave us questions. We'd love to use as much of that as we can on the program itself. And we will see everybody on Tuesday.